Chris, you're muted.
Okay. Thank you for letting me know. I don't know how that happened. All right. Thanks for joining LiveFULLy, everyone. Tonight, I want to talk about the power of patience. And so I've been reading a couple of books lately, and I also listened to a meditation and had a conversation with someone that was all around this theme of patience. And there was something, pretty profound that came out of Wayne Dyer's book called Manifest Your Destiny. And so I'm going to do a little screen share and just kind of set the tone for tonight. And I'll be interested to get your guys's feedback on that. Okay, can everybody see my screen? Yeah. All right. Oops. Okay, so this shows two processes, okay? So at the top, the one going across, and I was going to do animation, and I just didn't have time to get to it. Kind of, you see just like a picture of a girl at the beginning. I don't even know who this is. I literally Googled like before and after photos and just chose this girl as our little guinea pig for tonight. But basically, if you look at the beginning, it's kind of her as she's getting started with her journey. And then if you go all the way to the right, skip everything in the middle, you see that there's no outcome envisioned. So she hasn't put anything out there. She doesn't have anything in her mind. She doesn't have a picture of what she wants to look like at the end. So what happens is there's this thing that's called time, right? Between when we start something and then whatever the outcome is and whenever that happens. And so if there's no outcome that is visioned, then basically what you have in the middle is just kind of like the current process. So I just have like Starbucks for breakfast, maybe fast food for lunch, pizza for dinner. And so what can happen is even though you start into a process, there are things like fear, doubt, self-loathing, unworthiness, anger, struggle, anxiety. All of these things are things that can creep up on us during the process because there's nothing for us to really latch on to as far as an outcome, at the end of the process. And so then down on the second lane is, if you look all the way to the right, this is this girl, and it's her actual after photo. But, let's say that was a picture of you when you had the body that you wanted. So maybe that wasn't, that was actually like 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And so, whether you have to kind of like Photoshop your new face onto like an old picture, whatever you need to do to actually have that in your mind and look at it and be able to envision the outcome. And then what we're going to talk about are some excerpts that I pulled from Wayne Dyer's Manifest Your Destiny, but he talks about having the certainty of the outcome. And really what happens there is like we have to get past doubt in order to have certainty, right? So if you know that you know that you know, that means that there's nothing that's kind of in the way to derail you, but you have to set that vision out there and also create, like you have to attach to the feelings of why it matters that you actually reach that outcome. So if there's nothing that, it's like, what is this going to do as far as changing my life? Like, how is my life going to be different when I actually get to be this girl? So will I, be able to play with my kids better? Will I be able to, go out for a run where I can't now? Will I be, will I sleep better? Like, and not just identifying what the things are, but actual feelings behind like how it'll feel when those things come to pass, because having that certainty means that it absolutely will. It's just a matter of time. And so, I do this sorry. I don't know how to, like, get past the, like when I have my gallery up, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it covers that part of the slide when I have it in like maximum view. And it's like, I don't know how to get rid of the gallery so that it doesn't cover the slide. Are you still seeing it okay, even though it's not maximized? Okay. All right, so I just wanted to just kind of go over, you know, some of the lines. So the first one is actually something that Marianne Williamson wrote in her book, A Course in Miracles. And Wayne Dyer actually quoted her. And this is the book that I'm coming from. There might be a newer cover, but it's Manifest Your Destiny. And so Marianne Williamson said, those who are certain of the outcome can afford to wait and without anxiety. So, and then the second one is actually Wayne Dyer, where he says, you place no time constraints on your manifestation and you go about the affairs of your life with an inner awareness that says, I've got all the time that I need and I'm certain of the outcome, so I will allow it to show up as it will in due time. And so I had a conversation with someone recently about, you know, really kind of this impatience of getting toward our goal and the habit of jumping on the scale every single day, right? Like watching the process and that anxiety that can come up during the process because we're watching it so closely. And so what this book talks about, and I'm going to go into just a few things on the next slide and then we'll open it up for some discussion, is this idea of what happens is if there's anxiety during the process, so patience is actually not about the wait, it's about your attitude during the wait. Okay, so their time is going to happen. Like we all have the same amount of time, same number of hours in the day. So in order to get to an outcome, time has to be there. Like it's just going to be there, and we don't know exactly when. It's not up to us. In the very bottom arrow where it says time, patience, move in the general direction, and then detach and let it go. The move in the general direction is something that Mike Dooley wrote in his book, Manifesting Change. It couldn't be easier. And that was one of the first books that I read when I started getting into personal development and really changing my mindset around eating. But this idea of we don't have to know exactly when the outcome is going to happen. We don't even have to know exactly what the steps are. We just need to set that outcome. So it's like, get the picture up, you know, feel the feelings of what it's going to feel like once I reach that outcome, as far as what it's going to do, you know, to change my life. But then just start moving in the general direction. And so I have like, you know, shake day or a shake for breakfast, shake for lunch, you know, healthy meal for dinner. And it's like, we should be able to do that. And ideally is to kind of take the anxiety out of the process by just knowing and having certainty that the outcome is going to happen. But it's just a matter of time, right? So we can detach from it, because if we're worried about it every single day, what's happening is it's doubt that's creeping in. Because it's like, well, let me see where I am today. Let me see where I am. So we're tracking every single thing. And the truth of the matter is, as we were not concerned with our health for the past however many years, like we weren't tracking every single day how much we weren't, you know, like moving toward an outcome. So it's like, the idea here is to just set the intention, set the outcome, and then move in the general direction and kind of release, like let it happen, right? Let it go. And so, Wayne Dyer talks about patient detachment. And so he says, when we become impatient, we literally devalue ourselves and our connection to the divine Holy Spirit. So he talks about, like, in the universe, whatever we want is there for us. Like, so all we have to do is set the outcome, set the desire that we have. And then, you know, like Mike Dooley says, like move in that general direction. But there's nothing that God is like sitting up there judging and saying like, you can't have this, like you don't deserve it, or, you know, like I choose that you're not going to be able to reach this goal. Like it's all within our ability to have. And so we're really, when we become impatient and start wanting to hurry things up, is when, you know, Wayne Dyer, like his opinion is that we're really kind of taking that whole idea away. That, you know, by being impatient, it's almost like we don't believe, it's like this unbelief or doubt starts creeping in that we can actually reach this goal. And so the second thing is that infinite patience is a sign of trust, and it calls upon infinite love to produce results in your life. So this idea of infinite patience, it's like, it's not about becoming patient just for a moment, right? Or until the outcome happens, but it's actually like infinite. So this should be everything in our lives. Any outcome that we have in any area of our lives is just a matter of saying like, here's the outcome that I desire. And now I trust and have certainty that that thing is going to actually happen. And so that's when the results actually come, is when we kind of take our eye off of it, right? Like that. It's kind of like when you have like the phrase of like, when you have your thumb on something, it's like, just or watch pot never boils, like to like detach from the outcome, take your eye off of it and just allow it to happen, because you're certain that as long as you're taking steps to move in the general direction of whatever you want that outcome to be, it's gonna come to pass. The next one is doubt negates desire. And so from an energy perspective, what happens is in the universe, we put out energy toward achieving this outcome. Like we've seen it, we feel it in our belly, like, oh my gosh, it's going to feel so amazing when I reach this goal, and I'm going to be able to sleep and play with my kids, and it's awesome. And like, so you felt it, you're certain that it's going to happen. But by doing things like jumping on the scale every day, you know, like negative self-talk that comes like when you walk past the mirror, like these things that we're just going to all kind of combine them all into this thing called doubt. What happens is that vibration of positive energy, so you wake up and you're feeling good, right? Like you're vibing high. And then if you do something that's going to create that doubt, what happens is you've got a vibration that's in conflict. So it's going to be going like in the opposite direction. They can't coexist. And so one of them is going to take over at some point, right? Like either the positive is going to be like, no, I refuse to give in to this doubt, or that doubt is going to take over the positive. And the doubt is going to have you kind of like in a spin in your mind, right? Of like, then the day gets worse, and well, I might as well have the second bag of chips and forget it. And now I blew another day, and here we go again. And so like, basically like you can choose which vibration is going to win when that doubt starts to creep in. So know that like, they're not going to coexist. Like one of them's going to win out. And then last, an infinitely patient person. Oh, as an infinitely patient person, you know that you're already where you want to be. With this awareness, impatience leaves, and you stop looking for results of your manifestation. So what he's saying is that as you practice and develop patience, and I mean, he calls it infinite patience, so that you're patient with everything, right? Like there's nothing that you're in a rush for. You're allowing life to just flow. You're allowing that you trust that God has given you everything that you need for this outcome to come about. And it's only about you trusting and having certainty in that outcome that it will come to pass, and then taking steps to move in that general direction. And then it just happens. It's almost like, I mean, I don't want to be, I don't know what the word is. Like, I don't want to dismiss that, like, you know, you're thinking about like a goal or whatever. But what I'm really trying to get across, and I think like what Wayne Dyer is saying, is that detachment during this time of patience is so important, that it's like, it takes that like criticality out of the situation. Like, well, what if I gain 2 pounds today? Or what if I, like that anxiety that it produces turns into doubt, and it wrecks our positive flow. Like, that's moving forward, that we've already set the intention. I know what it feels like to hit this outcome. It's going to be awesome and amazing. And so this, like, what he's saying is that like impatience will start to go away, like the more that we practice it. So there are things it's like, okay, well, how do I actually do that, right? Like there are things like meditation. We talk a lot about affirmations. I'm going to stop sharing here. A lot about affirmations, vision boarding. So having that picture of the outcome that's really clear in our minds. Listening to podcasts instead of instead of TV or something that kind of you're attached to whatever mood someone or something sets for you. Like managing your own state versus allowing other things to kind of take it over. Like, well, what takes it over? I know the scale does, right? I mean, like that's something that it's kind of like, if you're not happy with what it says in the morning, it's like, so I actually suggested that somebody take a sticky note and put it over top of the numbers on the scale for 30 days or 2 weeks, or whatever it is, like a week, like put the number that you want to see on there. So what is the outcome, so that you're actually looking at it, but cover it up so that you're actually perpetuating a positive vibe, like this energy that's like positive, we're moving forward toward the outcome. And you're not allowing something else to come in and like put you in that bad mood. But I want to open it up and see what your guys' thoughts are about this detachment, because sometimes we're taught to set these goals, like set small goals, right? Like, and so we're working toward this small goal, and our attention is so heavy on that goal versus taking the same goal, but this idea of detachment, of patient detachment, and like how that can produce just kind of like a sense of ease in getting to that outcome. Like that doesn't create the same level of like, well, I've got this goal and there's a time frame on it and I got to hit it by next week. And it's today I'm up 2 pounds and yesterday I ate the wrong thing. And, like I think we can have goals, but I'm loving this idea and in every area of my life about, financial goals, about spiritual goals that I have, to just really be in this state of allowing and say, well, I know what I want. I've already established that. I've set the outcome. I'm doing the things that I should do to be, moving in that direction. Now I can just let it go. I can just like relax, release it, and know that it's going to happen as long as I continue to make, kind of put one foot in front of the other, one step at a time, like making the right choices. And like, it doesn't have to be perfect every day. Like there is no perfect. But how much easier might it be that goal actually is like, boom, you've hit it. And you're like, oh my God, like I detached from it so much that I didn't even realize I was that close or that I hit it, because you're allowing life and the flow of that positive energy and outcome to come to fruition. Like I have certainty around it. I know it's going to happen. And so now I just wait patiently, right, during this time frame of life until kind of the outcome catches up. So what are your guys' thoughts on that? I'm going to unmute. Okay, Sandra's on. Hey, so I'm going to unmute the other phone number. Okay, I think everybody's, if you're not unmuted, unmute yourself. But I think it looks like Terry jumped off, unless that's the 334 number. So what do you guys think about this? Patient detachment.
I just think that's a really interesting way to look at it because, like you said, it's sort of been drilled into us. Set your goal and then focus on your goal. This is what you've got to get to. And not that, like you said, goals are bad, they're good. But the scale for me is like my worst enemy. I am on it multiple times a day. It's crazy. And you know, I'll get on and I'm like, okay, so everything fluctuates, you know, it's going to be different, or, you know, girls with periods and blah, blah, blah. So I try not to put too much stock into that number. But I just have this curiosity and I'm like, okay, you know, what is it? So yesterday I weighed myself and I'm cleansing. I'm on day 1 today. And so I kind of like to keep track of, you know, how things go there. But the scale for me is like, it's like calls to me. It's like, Mandy, get on me. And I always want to see what the number is, but I really like this detachment idea. And just, I wrote it down, just trusting that I am where I'm supposed to be and that I'm doing the right things, and that, yes, I'm going to have a slip, and yes, I'm going to have a bad day, but just trusting that, you know, I know what I need to do, and and for me, I'm going to bring faith into it. That's just me personally. You know, just trusting that I'm on the right path, and just trusting that God has got me on the right path, and that whether it's weight loss or whether it's personal, whether it's work, whether it's Isogenics is my business, just trusting that I'm going to be doing the things that I need to do to get where I want to be. Oh, you're muted again, Chris.
Sorry. I was just going to say trust is so huge. Like, what I thought a lot about is faith, you know, because in scripture, it talks about faith being the evidence of things hoped for but not seen. So it's like when you, and I've never liked that word hope. Like, I have kind of something against it, because hope, it's like it kind of assumes that there's doubt. You know, like, I hope, I don't know, like, I hope it's going to happen. It's like wish or hope that I've always been like, I just don't like those words because of that, like, wishy-washy, like, uncertainty that's in the word hope. But in, you know, where it talks about faith being the evidence, like, there is actual factual, like, it's the evidence of things hoped for, but not seen. So it's like, even though you can't see it happening, it's like that process, like for time, like, you know that you're having the shakes, you know that you're having healthy choices, healthy meals, like, in time, like, there's no way that the outcome's not going to happen, right? So, like, to be able to emotionally know that. And what Wayne Dyer says, I just, you know, thought of this and pulled up the page. It says, the secret to being patient is in the certainty of the outcome. So if the more certain you are that it's going to happen, the more patience you'll have, like, in getting there, because you're like, I'm certain of it. So, like, what is there to be impatient about? Right? It's when we get impatient that we start to doubt whether or not it's going to happen. Okay. The phones are unmuted for anyone else who's on video that wants to jump in and has a comment. Sandra, Jason, welcome.
Hi, Chris.
Hello. So tonight we're talking about patience, and I just pulled up earlier, was sharing my screen and just pulled up some quotes from Wayne Dyer's book, Manifest Your Destiny, where he talks about infinite patience and how important it is to just kind of detach from the outcome versus, you know, really focusing on that outcome that's going to, like, to the degree that it's going to produce impatience and anxiety, you know, things like fear and doubt that creep in. But if you're certain about the outcome, then you're able to detach from it, and just kind of, make the choices and move in a general direction. So that's kind of what we're talking about tonight. Just to catch you guys up, because I know you guys jumped on a little bit late.
Yeah, for me, when I find myself restricted, it's just like a half a cup of this, I feel like the more I'm restricted, the more I want. But once I sit back and just let the process work and not be so hard on myself, I find myself doing better. So just forgiving myself and knowing that I'm not perfect and that I'm going to make mistakes, and this is a lifestyle change, it just really takes the pressure off of me. I just always feel like I have to do everything right, and I think you've told me this before, that the road to success is not a straight path. And once I sat back and start, forgiving myself and just knowing that this is not something that has to be followed perfectly, just do your best and leave the rest up to God for me. So it's just, I'm just trying to, give myself a little breathing room. So that's helping me out a lot more with the process.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I find that when I have uncertainty is when, or like when I'm starting to doubt myself, it's usually because I haven't gone through the process of really identifying what the outcome is that I want, right? So like, it's kind of like that first, and I'll go back to it for the people, that are just jumping on. I'm going to share my screen again just to pull this one up. There we go. Is that, kind of like when there is no, over here on the right side, there is no envisioned outcome, like that's where I get a little rocky, like with anything. So, I found that like when I'm really clear on what the outcome is and how I feel about it, then I'm able, because I have that certainty around the fact that it's going to happen and I know exactly what I want, then I'm able to have that patience through the process. But when I find myself in the other, in the other camp, and like anxiety comes on and fear, it's usually because I haven't taken the time up front to really like zone in on what is the outcome that I'm really looking for. And or maybe I've set the outcome like in a visual, but I haven't really felt like, well, why is that important to me? So who else?
Okay. I'll share a little. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. This is something I've had to work on a lot, and I work on every day. Mandy, what you were saying with like the scale, there's something for me, I know almost that I've recognized as like a self-sabotage or a way of judging myself or a way of giving myself an excuse to beat myself up or to be upset with myself. I think when we are in the habit of beating down on ourselves for so long, for so many years, it's a challenging habit to get out of. So, I don't think I've gotten on the scale in probably like 2 or 3 weeks, and used to I would have been on every day, because I honestly have not been doing as well as I need to be doing. I've upped my gym working out, and so I think that, and maybe it's just mental, but I've upped my gym working out, and so I've been more hungry. And so I've been eating a little bit more, but then I've been judging myself saying, well, that's not in your calorie, and then I've been fighting with myself internally, being like, well, you can't be upset with yourself. You need more calories. You're working out, and trust the process. And just, so it's this constant battle in my mind all day long of what I'm putting in my body, what I'm not putting in my body. Did I work out today? Did I have too many calories? And I have enough calories? And I go in the mirror and I'm looking at myself and I'm picking out this roll, and then I'm trying on a pair of pants that I want to get into. And so then it's a really hard battle. And so just being patient and trusting the process. I look back over the last year of the 100 pounds, and when I first started, I knew that each day I was going to be healthier and that I was going to just be on this journey. But I honestly didn't see the 100 pounds. I saw maybe like 20 pounds. And then I saw myself kind of getting back into the door. But then when I got back to down to the 20 pounds, and I could say, hey, you know, because I had changed my thought process, and it just kind of happened because I wasn't being so, you know, every day on the scale and judging myself every single day. I was just doing the work. Like Chris said, I was just doing the 2 shakes, doing the 2 snacks, doing the healthy meal, and just going on faith and trusting the process. And so then all of a sudden a month goes by, 2 months go by, 3 months go by, and you get on the scale and you're like, you know, down. And then there was sometimes where I wasn't down. Sometimes I did a 2-day cleanse and I was the same weight. And I was like, is this a freaking test? Because I mean, you know, it gets very frustrating. And so it's a constant battle with yourself. And for me, I know that when those things come up, it's almost, I feel like it's a test and a way to see, are you going to use this personal development and these tools you've used, the tools that you've learned to push through this and get through this and treat yourself kindly so that you can continue on this journey? Or are you going to allow the number on the scale to define you, or the fact that you had too many Doritos on Super Bowl Sunday, or whatever the fact, are you going to allow that to get yourself back in the revolving door so that you can hate yourself and be mean to yourself and pick on your body parts and all the things that you've done in the past? And so this is a really great topic for tonight. And, you know, just one day at a time and just really getting that mind focused so that you're not beating up on yourselves. We are so mean to ourselves. I mean, I catch myself doing it all day long, and I've lost 108 pounds. I should be freaking ecstatic with myself, and I'm still mean to myself. So, you know, just the awareness there and making sure that you're getting your blinders on and being kind to yourself.
I think about that, like the amount of energy that goes into the judgment of each little step, right? Like, well, I did eat more today, you know, versus like, as soon as something starts to creep in, going straight to the picture of the outcome. Like, release, like we're detaching from, I ate a little bit more today than I did yesterday, and I just go back to the picture, and it's that certainty. Yep, there it is, and I trust it. And so I detach from like whatever happened. And honestly, like that's the vibration that Wayne Dyer, you know, is talking about, that literally we spend so much time and so much energy on the little nitpicky things. Like the number on the scale, didn't work out like as long as I should have today, or I, you know, ate something I shouldn't have eaten, or like that. What happens is the outcome gets like erased or blurry or crossed out, right? Because our focus is all on like what happened today in these little, you know, these little steps along the way, instead of just take it back to what the outcome is at the end. Like release what happened today. You know, like just go and if it starts, because it's gonna creep in. We can't be unrealistic. Like, you know, things are gonna happen that our thoughts are gonna start to go like, oh shoot. But to be able to, you know, Morgan used the word awareness, to know, like realize when that happens and be like, oh wait, I'm starting to spiral in the wrong direction and kind of nitpick what I did. Let me go look at that picture of my outcome. And let me trust and detach. Like, so I'm going to look at it. Yep. It's the same one that was there yesterday. Awesome. I know what's happening. You're doing amazing. Like, detach. Boom. Like, resume the schedule. Like, erase. Don't, like, you cannot change what has already happened. So to put any thought or energy into anything that's not that outcome in the future is completely, I mean, that's doubt, right? Like that's going to negate the desire that you have. So it's like, I just literally, it's like, I just want to run, like every time I have a thought that's not serving me, like that's taking me in the wrong direction, it's like, I just want to run back to wherever I put that outcome. If it's on my whiteboard, if it's in my planner, on the vision board that I have, if it's in my phone, like whatever it is, like that creates that, excited, positive feeling inside, like run to that and like start from there and then move forward, right? Like erase. I don't even acknowledge what happened today because it's done. It's past, it's gone, like back to the outcome. And so, it just happens so much more quickly when we can detach from the stuff that we don't really, it doesn't serve us to spend time and energy on. Like the outcome will come so much faster because that's how the universe works. Like that positive energy, that outcome, like we should have the desires of our heart. Jason's on the phone. Like what's that scripture, Jason, about the desires of our... Taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back is still 1 step forward. I love that. Yeah, it's like forward is all that matters. What else? Who else has something?
I just want to add, that really is. I mean, when I was trying to control every single step and I was trying to control every single pound with a certain date by this time and it was too much for me, when I just allowed and trust the process and connected back with my vision boards. And I did, like Jill Burth, she has an old Isogenics flyer that I had from a long time ago, and she's on the front of the cover and she's got herself in one pant leg and it's folding out. I literally took a picture of my face and I cut it out and I put it over her face, and now I have a photo just like that in one pair of pant leg. And at the time when I did it, I couldn't see that for myself, but I put the image out there. And so I would reconnect with that. I had a 100-pound club board in my kitchen, and every time I lost a pound, I had these little stars, like a kindergartner, and I would put little stars, and I had like my son on there, and I had a picture of the celebration stage that I Googled and I put on there, and I kept that in my kitchen. And so no matter what I was doing, there was that, this is the right choice. Like no matter what I'm doing, I'm plugging in, I'm doing these things. This is the right choice for me right now at this time. And so when you have full faith that that's the case, and life is with ease and you're just allowing everything to come and you just continue on the journey every day. And that's how I look back and I'm like, people ask me like, well, how did you do it? And I'm like, I don't know. I just trusted the process and I just believed and I knew it was going to be there. And I just did the small steps every day.
I love the stars. And like, what did that do for your patience? Like just knowing, like rewarding yourself and, like, did it take some of the pressure off that you're like, oh, okay, like had a good day, did what I was supposed to do, like tracking it? Or did you feel pressure, like that the focus on it created anxiety?
Well, I thought it was going to at first, because when people were like dates and things, I thought it was going to, but I just didn't allow it. And I would only weigh like every 2 or 3 weeks after a 2-day cleanse. Like I made that commitment to myself at the very beginning when I started, that I decided that I was going to get this weight off. I knew that was for me, someone who does self-sabotaging and self-beating up, that was going to be a hindrance in my journey. And so then all of a sudden it was like, if you wait 2 or 3 weeks and you're doing the system every day and you're doing a 2-day cleanse and you have over 100 pounds to lose, I mean, it might be 5 pounds and then another 5. And then the stickers just started adding up, and then there was hardly any room left for the stickers on my board. And there was a couple months in there, like I said, that I didn't lose anything, or a couple weeks in there where I would actually do the system perfectly and I would do a 2-day cleanse and then it would be like 0 pounds lost. And I just about lost my mind, but that's what I needed. Like I needed to know that the scale was not going to define me. I needed that lesson. I needed to know that a 0 pound loss doesn't mean that I throw in the towel and that I go the other way. So I needed that lesson. And that lesson empowered me. When I hurt my ankle and thought that was it for me, like I had to have that lesson. I had to know that I could control what I was putting in my mouth. And just because I couldn't go out and walk anymore, I was going to be in the boot for 6 weeks. Like that's a lesson I needed. And it wasn't something I would have gone out and chose, but God, and he knew that I needed that lesson. And so that's what I got. And it's like the biggest blessing that could have happened to me, because now I feel like there's nothing, those obstacles, I know how to change obstacles into opportunities now. And so there's no obstacles that can come my way that I don't know how to get through with my faith and with the personal development and with this team.
I love it. I think about impatience and Wayne writes that when we become impatient, we literally, impatience is a failure to trust in the universal intelligence, and it implies that we are separate from the all-providing spirit. Impatience implies that our ego is the boss of desire. This form of self-importance needs to be addressed. Impatience implies that our ego is the boss of desire. So it's that control, right? Like that we actually have control of the timing and the circumstances. And so we're it's that doubt that comes in as a result of we get impatient because we just want to control the outcome. And it's we have to get into a place where that trust and that certainty is there no matter what. And when the negative, thoughts and things creep in to, just that certainty is what he says is the key to having patience. What else? I can just remember when, the doubt that I had in starting Isogenics after I had tried everything, even gastric bypass. It was okay, even that didn't work. And so, getting started and really, this is not just for us, but in helping other people, to get started, just this idea, the importance of sitting down and really showing someone of how to create, what is the outcome that you want? Because if you don't know, then there's nothing to keep you from that first lane of the process that was on that slide of the fear and the doubt and the anger and the anxiety and all the things that come in, because you don't know where you're going. There is no target. You have how can you be certain about something that you haven't created? You haven't desired it and established it. It's it's not good enough to just say, well, I'm going to start this thing. Let's see what happens. Let's see how this week goes. Well, what do you think is going to happen? Because you haven't put that target out there, and you haven't felt what it's going to feel like. You haven't built the certainty and the belief that it will happen as long as you're moving in the right direction. And so it's just so easy to get, caught up in the rest. And then, you're at 2 weeks in and ready to quit because, you're I can't do this. So, and I don't know how many people really sit down to do that. Really create in your mind that outcome. Did you cut out your head and tape it to the body that you see as the outcome? Did you do that? Did you take a sticky note and put it over top of the scale where the numbers are for 2 weeks and put the number on top of the sticky note that you want to see? And just accept that that's the number that's going to come. And don't, right? Because you trust that it is. So you're I'm going to detach. If I find myself jumping on the scale, that's the number I'm going to see. I'm not going to get attached to what the number on the scale says, because that can send me into a negative vibration, a negative thought pattern. It can send me into doubt, which is going to take me off of the path. So it really, tonight I just wanted to impress the importance that I think that there is, and that Wayne Dyer talks about, of the certainty is what creates the patience. We don't just automatically oh, you need to be more patient. Well, how do I do that? You become certain, so that if you're certain, It's going to happen in due time, just like he wrote. Like, time is a real thing, and it's going to take some time for this outcome to happen, but I'm going to allow it to flow. I'm going to allow the circumstances to happen during this time frame, rather than nitpicking on every little thing and tracking it to the degree that it's like the only thing on my mind. Like, it's like he's like, release, let it go. You've already decided. The universe, God, is in agreement that you should have whatever you desire. So keep the focus on the desire, right? Not the doubt, because that's where you get impatient. This is not working. It's been 2 weeks. I've done my 30-day system. It's been 30 days. Like, that's your ego that's trying to control that outcome. Does that make sense? Versus allowing, the spirit of the universe, God, he sees what the outcome is and is in agreement with you. Yes, like, this is your desire, and I see it, and you're attached to it. You're sending out positive vibration. Like, let's move this thing along. Let's put it into motion. And that's all you have to focus on. It's just moving in the general direction. Anybody else have any comments? I know we're coming up on time, but okay, awesome. Well, I hope this was some good food for thought. I will put, when I get to the point of uploading this into the group, the book that I've been talking about is Manifest Your Destiny, the 9 Spiritual Principles for Getting Everything That You Want. It's one of his older books, but I love it. I love it when people come up with like a number of principles. It's like easier to remember that way when there's like kind of bulleted. But this one on patience, I thought was really key and profound. Is really detaching once you've become certain on the outcome, detaching from that outcome and just allowing it to happen, and really being able to kind of stop yourself throughout the process when something negative starts to creep in. And, just again, like releasing that, like just detaching from whatever happened and saying, okay, like I see that happened. I'm drawing a line in the sand and I'm going back to focus on what the outcome is. And you'll continue to shift, that negative energy that can pull you into a spiral, into positive energy that's going to propel you toward that goal or toward that outcome. But you have to be, like, in order to get that certainty, you have to see it, you have to feel it. So if it's not there and you think you can do it with just, what's in your head, like, I would challenge you, go find that photo, put the sticky note over the scale, like do the things that you need to do in order to actually visually see, what that outcome is, because you're gonna need to go back to it. It's gonna have to be there when you get sidetracked. So thank you to everybody for joining tonight. There's a Have It All team call in about 6 minutes. So I appreciate everybody joining and participating. And I will put the resource, the books that I mentioned, in the post when I post the recording. So thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.